Shalom, I'm Rabbi Michael Panitz. I'm the rabbi of Temple Israel of Norfolk, Virginia, and I'm speaking to you from the pulpit of our synagogue. At this time, I'd like to speak to you on the subject of life lessons from the Book of Numbers. Book of Numbers in Hebrew, Sefer B'Midbar Sinai, in the Sinai wilderness. It's the fourth book of the 5 books of Moses. Life lessons from the Book of Numbers. At the center of our religion is a library. Why should that be? As a nation, we Jews first encountered God as the force making for our people's journey from slavery to freedom. From that perception, our tradition reached a point of having Torah, a written account of the sacred core of our history. From that written Torah, we elaborated an oral superstructure of commentary, and then we wrote that down too, hence the library. Studying that library is essential for our religious continuity. As one of the fundamental aspects of lifelong Torah study, we read the first 5 books of it every year in the public ceremony of our communal worship. This week, we begin our annual re-encounter with the 4th book of Moses, the Book of Numbers. We will be living with this book for the next 2 months plus. It will provide the lens for bringing into focus questions of the day. Now, at the beginning of this process, I will share with you 10 basic life lessons from the Book of Numbers. 1. People count. 2. We live in community. 3. Put God in the center. 4. Life is a necessarily unfinished journey. 5. Don't lose sight of the goal of the journey. 6. There will be hardships. 7. In the face of those hardships, our character will be tested. 8. But amidst the hardships, there are oases to be found. 9. After repeated failure, one may still succeed. And 10, success means identifying with a goal in a frame larger than the frame of our individual life. Over the coming months, we'll have the opportunity to explore these 10 lessons more fully. For now, I will share a preliminary sketch of them. First lesson. The Book of Numbers begins with a census, and it repeats the census again near its conclusion. That is because the Jewish way is the way of a people, of a community, and a community means numbers of people coordinating their lives, living together. Second lesson, community means people, and people are not clones. We are not honeybees. We are a species whose individuals are different from each other. To make community work in our species requires cooperation, communication, and compromise. Lesson 3, put God in the center. The Israelites arranged their camp in a careful manner. The tabernacle, where they sensed God's presence, was right in the center of the camp. Religion grows ineffective and loses its power to help people lead meaningful lives when God is relegated to the periphery of their consciousness. Lesson 4, the unfinished journey. For the entire book of Numbers, the Israelites are en route to the promised land. They only get there 2 books later in the book of Joshua. That book, the book of Joshua, is not part of the 5 books of Moses. and therefore it is not part of the annual cycle of Torah readings. The effect of this decision about how to encounter our sacred library is to remind us that our journeys are unfinished. They are important nonetheless. Lesson 5, remember the goal of the journey. The point of the journey of our Israelite ancestors was to go home. The sense of being in exile, but seeking to get home, is an important part of Jewish psychology. The journey, in other words, is towards an ideal future. Lesson 6. The book of Numbers is set in the wilderness of Sinai, an inhospitable place. You can live there, but the challenges are severe. That's why lesson 6 is there will be challenges. That was true not only in the one generation of the people Israel's sojourn in the Sinai. Sinai became a metaphor for a Jewish experience in many times and places. The 7th lesson about how hardships can bring out the worst in you. The book of Numbers shows the flaws of the people and then the flaws of their leaders too. Hardships can fray social bonds. Finger-pointing, scapegoating, losing sight of blessings received are all parts of failure that threaten an individual or a community facing hardship. It was true then, and it is true now. Lesson 8, you can find the oasis. We think of the Israelites as wandering, but that was not their lived experience. They settled in oases for considerable periods of time, tending their flocks, living their lives. That is also a paradigm for the experience of our Jewish people across the centuries. We have found oases, not the promised land, but good as a way station. It is important to realize that an oasis is a blessing to be appreciated, but it is not forever. It is not yet home. That has proved true in every country of our domicile. It may yet prove to be true here in the United States. Lesson 9. It's possible, despite repeated failure, to achieve ultimate success. The middle chapters of the book of Numbers contain many narratives of the people in the first and second years of the wilderness sojourn, displaying weakness of character, lack of self-esteem, lack of self-control. Ultimately, that generation is sentenced to live out its natural lifespan in the desert. And then the book of Numbers falls silent until its narrative picks up again in the last year of the wilderness generation. The new generation still stumbles, but it shows signs of maturity. Individuals and tribes advocate for themselves, but keep the greater good in mind and make the compromises that allow a society to achieve greatness. Today, I yearn to see more people knowing that balance, working for their own advancement, but with the greater good in mind. People can find a way to help themselves, not at the expense of their neighbors and of society at large, but by making the world better for all. 10. The final lesson of the book of Numbers, that success means identifying with a frame of reference larger than your own life. The final lesson is that Moses and his entire generation of the Exodus would end their lives in the desert, but that the story would not end there. Moses asks God to appoint a successor. God selects Joshua. Ultimately, Moses invests Joshua with his own authority and gives Joshua his blessing. The people of Israel raise up a new generation of children born into freedom. That generation will follow Joshua and fulfill the dream of homecoming. For Moses and his generation, their ultimate accomplishment was that they broke a cycle of despair and short-sightedness and prepared for their children to do better than they themselves had done. That should be our goal as well, to work for a goal that will transcend our own lives. Friends, may this year's encounter with the book of Numbers help us apply timeless lessons to the problems of our lives and the challenges of our time. Amen.